orchid fans! What's up? Welcome back to my channel, and if you're new, very welcome. My name is Guntare and I live in Scotland, so my channel is all about growing orchids in Scotland. Today it's a care collab video, and there is quite a few channels collaborating, and we're all gonna talk about general care of Tolumnia orchids. So you can see the list of all the channels collaborating on the screen. There is quite a few, so I'm gonna leave them on for a little bit so you can go through them all. And I will also leave the links to their videos in the description, so feel free to go and check them out. Everybody's living in different environments and have different setups for their Tolumnia orchids, so hopefully across them all you will find some useful information if you've got these beautiful orchids. So as you can see, I've got 3 Tolumnias, and there is actually 2 different types of Tolumnias. So at first I got this one here. This is Tolumnia Flyer Golden Fan, I believe. I'll put the name on the screen. And I got this from Schwerter Orchid Nursery in Germany. I think it was back in maybe July or August of 2020. So I've had it for about 9 or 10 months. It hasn't bloomed for me yet, but as you can see, it's a pretty small plant, and this was my first ever Tolumnia. I didn't really know exactly how to take care of him, and I kind of didn't put it in the right setup to begin with, so I set it back a little bit, and then I replanted it into this basket, as you can see. So it's got plenty of air, it's only got big bark, and you can see beautiful roots. So it's bouncing back, it's growing pretty nicely. It's got this new growth right there, and it's maturing very barely, to be honest. It's not like any other fans that I've got, but it is growing nevertheless. So hopefully it will push through, and you know, we might get some blooms probably in the next season or during winter. So that's one of them. And then the other one I got back in November of 2020 from Akerne Orchids, and that's Tolumnia Peach. And I actually got all of this in one pot, so it looked like a huge plant. When I unpotted it to repot, I realized it is actually 3 plants in one pot. So there is 1 plant right here, and then there is 2 plants in here, and I think you can see fairly easily you know, the separate plants. Because they were smaller, I thought I'll plant them in one pot, and in case, you know, maybe one of them doesn't pull through, I can just pull it out of the pot and leave the other one in, rather than having 3 pots. And they were quite small, so I thought they will do well in one pot. So again, as you can see, it's in the same type of basket as the other Tolumnia, with loads of air. It's growing roots even through the bottom now, so it's really developing the root system pretty nicely. It's got loads of fans as well. This smaller one has got 1 fan here. It tried to push another fan, but it kind of dried up, and I think this plant is just quite small and quite weak, so it's difficult for it to develop anything, but it is still growing new roots, and it might pull through. The other one, this bigger piece here, it's got a new growth here and another one here, so it's doing a little bit better, and it's got more mature fans as well, you know, to back it up. So I think it's doing a little bit better. And then this biggest plant, it's got 3 new growths. So it's got 1 right here, a small one, and then another one here, and the 3rd one right there. And it's also still maturing with this fan, which is, you can probably see there is a leaf in the middle that is still pulling through. So, and even though this one is not fully mature yet, it's already pushing out another new growth. So yeah, and the roots are doing pretty well as well. It's pushing out new roots, but as you can see, quite a few of these roots are old and dead. But because it's developing a new root system, I'm sure it will be absolutely fine. So Tolumnias are pretty small plants. So this one here, you can compare it to my hand. It's it's pretty small, and that is basically a mature size Tolumnia. It is blooming size, so it should bloom for me hopefully during winter or late winter, early spring next year. There are some Tolumnias can be bigger than others, but even though, you know, there are loads of different hybrids, different colors, different sizes as well. There are some kind of miniature size Tolumnias and some can be bigger. None of them get really big, but there is still differences between the sizes. And honestly, their care is pretty much the same, no matter which hybrid you're getting. And I think it's a good idea to actually do a collaboration video on Tolumnias in general, rather than just do you know, a care collab on a specific type of Tolumnia, because honestly they all grow in a very similar way. So talking about their care and what they like a very kind of distinct wet-dry cycle. So that's why I kind of planted them in baskets and in big bark, which is kind of unusual for such fine root system. Usually fine root systems would go into a finer mix, whereas big root systems like Cattleya or Phalaenopsis, they would go into bigger mix. But Tolumnias, they like to dry out pretty quickly, and that's why they are in big bark. They also like a lot of air around the roots, so you know, that's why the basket helps that out. And I can see some roots are escaping, you know, escaping the basket. So they are actually, oh my god, I just broke a root tip. Not a good day for me so far. So yeah, they quite like a lot of air. So what I do is I would water this one day, and that would dry out by the end of the day, or maybe by the next morning, and then it doesn't get any water the next day, and then on the third day it gets more water. So it has basically a day or even more than a day of completely dry roots, because they can get overwatered pretty quickly. And that's what happened with this one, basically, because I initially planted it in leca, and kind of tried to do like a semi-hydro setup, and I would leave a tiniest bit of water at the bottom of the pot, and then after a day I would drain the whole thing, so it would be just leca. But that leca was sitting quite moist basically for a week, and this plant just did not like that at all. It started yellowing its leaves here, so I started to kind of pulling them out. And then I replanted in a basket with big bark. You know, it dries quicker. I know this setup better, so I know how to kind of what to do with it, and I find that a bit easier to deal with. So and right now it seems to be happier. Another thing to note is that these plants are extremely light feeders. They don't need fertilizer, much fertilizer at all. You know, you can see these ones, they've kind of got like salt buildups on the sides, so they're getting too much feed. And honestly, I'm feeding like 100-150 ppm, and usually I feed them twice a week, and then they get a flush, and that is still too much. So I think what I'll do, maybe for a couple weeks, I will just give them plain water to just wash out all of these salt buildups. Yeah, just give them a bit of rest from the fertilizer. Again, they can get over fertilized pretty quickly, and they just don't really like that. And I wonder, maybe that's why, especially those smaller plants, they're just not too happy, because they maybe just are getting too much fertilizer. They do like humidity though. I guess most of orchids like humidity, but a lot of times you can compensate lack of humidity with just giving more water to the plant, and then it will pull this moisture through the roots into the plant, and that's a good kind of compensation if you don't have humid air. Whereas Tolumnias, they don't like having wet roots, but at the same time they need humidity. So it is a bit of a, you know, just need to kind of find that balance between not keeping the roots too soggy, but at the same time, you know, they don't want to be in too dry either. In terms of light, they don't, they're not highlight orchids at all, so they can go into kind of a bright shade. So yeah, they don't need much light. So I think that's gonna be it for today, and I hope that was useful and you can use some of this information if you're growing Tolumnias. And as I say, even if you're growing different type of Tolumnias, you can pretty much you know, go by this guide as well. It's all Tolumnias are very similar, unless you've got a hybrid between a Tolumnia and another type of plant. It might be then different, but if it is a Tolumnia, it will be pretty much the same care. And feel free to check out the other channels, the videos about Tolumnias from them. As I say, they all grow in different countries, different environments, and they've got different setups. Some grow in organic media like me, some grow in inorganic media. So there's going to be loads of information about Tolumnias, which I hope will be useful to you guys. And yeah, enjoy your Sunday. I hope it's going well so far, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!